Welcome back. I hope Turkey Day found you well. I had a great one myself. Good one, a great one. I don't know what the difference between those are, but I had three plates and I was with my family, so I really couldn't ask for any more. Really couldn't. It was nice. Um, Everybody had a good time. So today on the show, we will be covering A-Lamaus, A-Y-Y-Y, LMAOs. Known by, previous generations as aliens. So, what was my first contact with aliens? My first vivid memory with the concept of aliens. That would have to be when I was 8 years old. There's a little bit of pepper I could sprinkle on the story right after, but here, let me get the show started, right? So, when I was 8 years old, my father, he would leave the History Channel on sometimes, maybe hoping that we would learn something about World War II or America. And it just so happened that the History Channel frequently broadcasted content about aliens, man. Aliens, extraterrestrials, ETs. And we did have that movie when I was a kid, right? So hold on, before we get into the pop culture, right? Which I guess this is the one I'm choosing to tell for the intro. So this is what made aliens stick in my mind as an actuality, right? So the History Channel was on, and one day this segment comes on a show about aliens, about a man who was approached in the middle of the night on his property or in the forest, something like that. And he is approached by a naked woman, only this woman is not human. I don't know how he knew that immediately. Maybe just there being a naked woman in the forest would be the whistle blowing for him, right? The alarm ringing in his head. So he did what any warm-blooded American male would do when you find a naked woman in the forest. He had sex with her. He had sex with this naked woman, strange woman in the forest. And the next day he had to go to the hospital because he had like chemical burns on his arms and his body or something like that. This is how I remember it from the History Channel, right? So it turns out that he was visited by that alien several more times, and he claims that he had babies with that alien. I was 8 years old. It must have been 2002, 2001, something like that. And the concept, I didn't have a concept of horniness, right? For some reason, as an 8-year-old, I think maybe I should go to therapy for this, honestly. As an 8-year-old, I was, not to say that I was horny because I couldn't think of that concept, but I was lecherous as an 8-year-old. It was weird. Probably has a lot to do with my upbringing. But my initial thought as a lecherous 8-year-old was like, damn, what do I gotta do? You know what I'm saying? As an 8-year-old, and I wasn't even really sexually active like that. I don't know if that was the purpose of the story. They don't, who knows, right? We're not gonna get into that right now, the predictive programming. But all I knew was that I wanted some alien coochie. And I would stare up at the stars, just hoping some badass alien babe would phase through my wall and it never happened as far as I can remember. Uh, Today, I think we'll be getting into the true nature of what we know as aliens.
The date is
December 5th.
2025. This is your news tonight. With your host, Joe Chavez.
One time I met a guy. He said he was fucking aliens and shit, and he got him pregnant. For real, this is on the internet. You can go Google this. You can find this out. He said he fucking him and he got him pregnant. And you can talk to somebody and you like, oh, you full of shit. He ain't. You know what I'm saying? You full of shit. Yeah, he said he had baby. There you go. I met this nigga right there. Wait, yeah, that's my dog. For real, he painted the pictures. What he said happened. Yeah, David Huggins. He was, bro. Yeah, I met this nigga and we had a long talk about the aliens and shit. And I mean, you can talk to somebody. You like, yeah, you want some bullshit. I don't know, man. He ain't saying like he was lying. Somebody you could just tell. You know what I'm saying? Like, you ask him a question, he instantly answer like he ain't even thinking. You know what I'm saying? Like he was quick with it. Like, and he was like, man, they caught him in the forest slipping on some horny shit one day. And he was like, man, she whipped that shit out. She was bad than a motherfucker. He couldn't resist. And he's got the.
So we have the Danny Brown clip for you. The Danny Brown Show, hosted on YMH Studios, Your Mom's House Studios. Danny Brown is a rapper. This was early on in his show. I haven't continued on with it as of late. But early on, I was watching like every episode. And on one of the very first few episodes, he talks about what I just described to you. An old man, or he wasn't old at the time, basically having recurring meetings with what he describes as an alien. And he was impregnating her. He had an alien family, apparently. This isn't this might be new for people who don't spend all day listening to people talk about hypotheticals and what ifs, right? So, yeah, one theory is that the aliens we've come to recognize as gray or green with big black eyes, these are either time-traveling versions of us that have advanced so far into the future that all of our recognizable features have become not. And also all of our DNA and genetic material has been damaged through time, through our supposed advancement of technology and the human body and all this stuff. And thus, as these malformed looking human beings travel back to a time when humanity was a little bit more intact, so that they could gather material and data off of us so that they may better their situation. That's one theory. Another theory is that they once inhabited the planet Mars. I don't know if you're familiar with the pictures of like monoliths and faces that people have somehow seen on Mars or whatever. They claim to have seen. Some scientists chalk it up to the necessity of human mind, the pattern making, right? If we see shapes that look something like a face, then we're gonna be like, oh, that looks like a face, because that's just how the human mind works. Well, this second theory contests that the Greys once inhabited the planet Mars. They destroyed it with nuclear warfare and came to Earth when we were still young, and proceeded to run the same game and almost cost us the planet. And when they set off calamity on Earth, it kind of reset civilization here. And that's where we get the flood myths from, the Noah's Ark, and yada yada yada. The Younger Dryas, which pseudo-archaeologist Graham Hancock has pretty much built his career off proving the Younger Dryas is like a line. It's a point in time that is identified by sediment. If you look at if you go so deep in the ground, you can tell how long a layer of earth has been there per the discoloration or whatever the case may be. And the Younger Dryas indicates that at some point 9,000 to 11,000 years ago, before all of our recorded history, all of modern recorded history, an unnatural flood happened, and it was planetary. It was planetary. You can go on one side of the earth or the other side of the earth, dig into the sediment, and find that same 9,000 to 11,000 year discrepancy, which is it's caused by massive torrential flooding. I think that's the term. Landslides and whatnot. So that's why they would be experimenting with humanity now, I guess. That's the theory. Those are the theories. But we'll get more into it. The meat of the show today, I wanted to focus around a woman named Amy Eskridge. Now, it's all these green-headed flying saucer theories. They're fun, you know. They're fun to talk about. They're fun to make fun of other people for believing, kind of like flat Earth, you know. We've had, like I said, the History Channel was not my first experience with aliens. I watched E.T. My grandma, my father's mother, she was a huge fan of the X-Files, and it's come out later on that the government actually pressured the creator of the X-Files in the first season to change up the story because he was infringing a little too close upon state secrets. And my honest belief is that the truth is stranger than fiction, right? And you know, whenever you hear something miraculous happen, someone might be quick to say stranger things have happened, you know. And there are some people who live right on the border of where those strange things happen. And Amy Eskridge was one of those people. Now, unfortunately, her research material is so taboo that we're not going to be able to get into it for the show. I was contacted, I'll just say, instead of the show that I had planned, I suppose that I'm just going to show you a viewing of the 1995 series, Whoever You Thought You Were, You're a Jew. And that's it for the show today, guys. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Baby, wouldn't it be nice if we both spoke the same language? I could understand your troubles and you know mine, and we could be together all the time.
Are they gone? Cool. So, Amy Eskridge. name Eskridge. She was for lack of the actual term, she was a rocket scientist, right? She was a propulsion technician, a propulsion theoretician. She worked on anti-gravity, which she herself described as a misnomer. Now, at the schools that I went to, people may have been at their reading level, but if you said certain words to them, they would not know what the fuck you're talking about, right? A misnomer, and something, a tiny little thing that I like to do because my mom kind of put me on it when I was a kid. You could look at any word, and you learn this in English too. You can look at any word and see what it means by breaking it up, and also its origins, like Greek or whatever. But for this, we'll look at the meaning of the word misnomer. Miss, like a mistake, and nombre, name. Misname, wrong name. Anti-gravity is the wrong name for it. And here's some other misnomers in case you're not familiar with the concept, right? So, a lead pencil. It's not actually lead, it's graphite. How about a shooting star? It's not a star, it's a meteorite. And then you have the peanut, which is not a pea, and it's not a nut, it's a legume. I mean, whatever, right? It's a fruit, probably. So, anti-gravity is not anti-gravity. That's all I know. That's all she explained it as in the 2 and 3 hour conversations of her that exist on YouTube, talking with Jeremy Reese and Mark Sokol. I guess they were both in her field of research. In the clip that you can find on YouTube, the 2 and the 3 hour clip, all of Jeremy Reese's dialogue has been cut out for some reason. All you can really hear is Mark Sokol and Amy Eskridge talking. And
talks about extraterrestrial. Extra implies that they're from somewhere else, from the extra implies they're from not here, from ultra-terrestrial.
They're from the dome.
They're not necessarily from the outside, they're from here.
Oh, so they're like ascended beings, or
No.
So then they're you, high
No.
IQ.
No,
What are
they're not ascended. They look like you and me. They look like you and me. If you don't know, I don't know. Am I one? I don't know. I was born in Huntsville, Alabama, in the West Wing of Huntsville Hospital.
she implies the existence of what whistleblowers have already come out and said, the government is doing. ARVs. Alien reproduction vehicles. The government, David Grush, this whistleblower, other people, right? They're apt to tell you that the United States government is engaged in operations during which we recover fallen, unidentified craft that are not of human origin, quote unquote. This is a program that has been going on since, they say, at least 1947 Roswell. I will play some Amy Eskridge clips so you can get a flavor of who, what type of person she was. She insists that the secret space program is real. Now, the secret space program began coincidentally just before 1947 and just after World War II. And it's funny enough, you know, I shared this on my Instagram story a while ago, or maybe Facebook, but there's a clip from the reboot of the X-Files where Mulder just gives you a prepped paragraph about Operation Paperclip. It was never mentioned, well, I think it was actually in the old series. In the 90s. People knew about this in the 90s. After World War II, so we could maintain a militaristic edge, the United States Army, military, and government drafted Nazi scientists into our service so that we could use them for our benefit. And some of those drafts created the secret space program, which led to the birth of NASA. Werner von Braun, which, look, the point of me telling you this information is to be approximate, to intrigue you, and so that hopefully you can do research yourself and discern whether or not this is true. Because I'm not going to get on here and tell you a lie. I'm going to tell you something that sounds really close to the truth, if not the actual truth, so you can decide for yourself, research for yourself, find the truth for yourself. Just for that, and as you can see, right, I'm still on one-person production. I'm not gonna, in the moment, sometimes get an exact detail right. Like I was about to say Werner von Braun, he was the founder of NASA. I could be fucking dead wrong about that, but he basically gave NASA the blueprint. And there's video of his assistant talking about what he said on his deathbed. I can give you that right now.
There is a lie being told to everyone that the weaponization of space is now first being based upon the evil empire, the Russians. There are many enemies, he said, against whom we're going to build this space-based weapon system, the first of whom was the Russians, which was existing at that time. Then there would be terrorists. Then there would be third world countries. Now we call them rogue nations or nations of concern. Then there would be asteroids. And then he would repeat to me over and over, and the last card, the last card, the last card would be the extraterrestrial threat. Well, at the time, I kind of laughed when he said asteroids, and when he said extraterrestrials, I knew I wasn't going to deal with that subject. And now we hear on the news just today, this week, that they've slid in another enemy. Only this time we're going to protect our satellites. In other words, we have to have some reason to spend these trillions, to waste these dollars on a space-based weapon system, and they're all lies.
And there are if you look at let's say Futurama, right? Futurama was created by the people who created The Simpsons, which is lauded for its predictive programming ability, right? Everything that's happening in real life apparently has happened in The Simpsons at some point. So Futurama is about a guy in New York. He falls into a cryogenic pod accidentally in the year 2000, and then he's unfrozen 1,000 years later in the future. There's a little montage of things that happen in the background to planet Earth while he's frozen for 1,000 years. And it just so happens the cryogenics lab is untouched. But during the 1,000 years passing, it shows New York being destroyed by flying saucers. Project Blue Book and Project Blue Beam are the names of these deep black military agendas to stage an alien invasion to enact a world government, to unify the world against one threat instead of you know, us fighting each other all the fucking time, bombing little kids and stuff. This is their big plan. And if you watch the movie Watchmen, you're kind of like, you know, if peace comes at the cost of the death of 1 million people, is not that peace earned? You know, that's a question for philosophers, but I would argue that those people that didn't get to live their lives to the fullest extent, they're murdered, right? We murder people with flying saucers that we built, and we say, oh, we have to get the flying saucer, guys. That's not peace. It's a trick. And in the 2 or 3 hour clip of Amy Eskers talking to Mark Sokol, she claims that her father was a second generation scientist in this paperclip program, that her father was trained by these paperclip scientists, the Nazi scientists, and there are others like this, and that she was basically set up to be the heir of all that knowledge. And in that video, she claims that she was being pushed to disclose that knowledge, the knowledge of anti-gravity, of alien reproduction vehicles, and what. So she's also claiming that on one end, while people in the deep government and deep research were telling her to come forward with this information and her research, there were all other people who were threatening her and her life, who were harassing her, breaking into her home when she wasn't there, stalking her in her town, wherever she went. Basically, and I don't know if you know anything about corporate espionage, right? So people will kill for money in this point in time. People will kill for $50, and people will kill for $50 million, even if they have $500 million, even if they have $2 billion. And she goes on to describe a situation where she was talking to a professional about some of the harassment she was experiencing, and that this professional had seen this in the corporate workspace before, when the Blu-ray was coming about and the DVD was still reigning king. There was this woman who worked for either DVD or Blu-ray who was being harassed repeatedly because she was supporting one side or the other, and because it's like a winner-take-all capitalism, I guess. And it just so happens to extend into our resources, our natural resources. That's the big thing about quote-unquote anti-gravity and unlimited, zero-point energy as they call it. Energy that comes from nothing and is entirely renewable by itself. We don't have to do anything with it. We don't have to mine the earth. We don't have to waste. It doesn't create waste. It would put coal out of business. It would put electricity out of business, or at least it would reduce their profit by a literal unknowable amount. That's what they believe, and that's worth killing for. So she was being harassed, and yeah, I could show you some of that.
This happens too. They're like, you know, they kill people for this, right? And then they're like, because you're a young woman, they're going to rape you before they kill you too. And I have people digging through my panty drawer, breaking into my apartment, digging through my panty drawer so that I notice. Like, I have crazy fucking threats going on right now.
She talked about there being a certain kind of UFO or aliens that they identified as P insert number, P-52s, P-47s. If you look at these lights, or this is what she described them, right? that they were us in the future. Present plus 52,000 years. Present plus 47,000 years. This is a rocket scientist theory. Another rocket scientist told her. These are people who are in the know, who are looking at material that regular people mistake as UFOs. She basically, this person who gave her this information claimed that there would be a calamity in the future, the near future, and that there would be the people who went underground to avoid it and they would survive. But then there would be people who remain on the surface and are unaffected by whatever went on. Well, I wouldn't say unaffected, but survived, right? I guess we can talk about like two more aspects of what aliens could be after all, right? So we already went and said that they were Martians or us from the future. There's the most dangerous anthropologist, right? Or the most dangerous archaeologist. I forget which one he is actually. Robert Sepher, Sepher. A lot of his information, modern science would laugh at as completely kooky and clownish. I would say 75% of the information that he has on his YouTube is history that has been robbed from humanity, purposefully obfuscated and scattered, and is necessary for our survival and evolution as a species. The 25% of it that I kind of don't give credence to, or his grandfather was a Nazi. He claims that, and his grandfather had firsthand knowledge of all this stuff that I'm about to tell you. But apparently, the Nazis, and this is what caused the U.S. military to get interested in their scientists. The Nazis had anti-gravity technology. They had flying saucers. They built flying saucers. And they could outperform, they could fly around the world in like, an hour? That was the thing. They could fly around the world in an hour or two. What they couldn't do was outmatch just the production and firepower of the combined world armies. It would be quicker to destroy the supply line and make it pretty much impossible for them to reproduce these flying saucers at all. Given, I guess, that they were still in the infancy of reproducing them, right? In the 40s, in the late 30s. Robert Sepher claims that, and it is very, very true, that part of Hitler's parliament and military was dedicated to the occult, to the supernatural. That is without a doubt. There's a group of anywhere from 50 to 1,000 people that Hitler had working to like go find the spears that stabbed Jesus, stuff like that, to find the entrances to quote unquote Hollow Earth, Shambhala. You know, they believed a lot of this shit. And in the year 2025, it's so easy to manufacture a webpage or a personality and just have them be like, yeah, that guy's a liar. It's full of shit. It's never happened. It's false. It's fake. It's phony. And he's crazy. He's cuckoo. He's a clown. You know? But finish the theory, the sect of Nazis that were involved in occultism and involved in the production of these ARVs, they managed to escape and plant a base in Antarctica, where after they lost the war, they continued to thrive, survive, and flourish to the point where their technology has superseded anything you're seeing on the street today by upwards of like 1,000 to 2,000 years. We're talking about, there's pictures out there that exist, black and white pictures of Saturn and Jupiter, you know, and apparently the elite governments of the world are very much aware of these Germans in Antarctica with UFOs, and that the quote-unquote aliens that we see are actually Nazis. Now, if you don't like the extraterrestrial angle or the cyber Nazis angle, there is one more explanation as to what aliens might be. And I guess I can show you this clip real quick about the Collins elite.
Who merged rockets with ritual magic. Jack Parsons. Parsons wasn't your average rocket scientist that even exists. He was co-founder of what would become NASA's Jet Propulsion Lab. He's been called the father of modern rocketry in America. By night, Parsons indulged his rather unorthodox interests. He was the head of the lodge of Aleister Crowley's occult order in Pasadena, California, the Ordo Templi Orientis, or OTO for short. Crowley was a big deal. He was called the wickedest man in the world by the British press. He practiced ceremonial magic. In 1918, he performed something called the Amalatra working. It's a ritual he believed could open a door to another realm. From that ritual, he sketched a being he named Lamb. It's a bulbous-headed, dark-eyed figure that looks eerily similar to the modern conception of a gray alien. Being the ambitious person he was, Parsons tried to take it a step further. In 1946, alongside a young science fiction writer named L. Ron Hubbard, he carried out the Babylon working. It was a series of sex-magical rituals that were meant to manifest an elemental spirit or moon child. Now, they were attempting to summon an otherworldly force into this world. Now, this sounds nuts, but the timing is uncanny. Just months later, the modern UFO era explodes. It's
basically, you know, the secret space program, these occultish Nazis who came over and started NASA. There are some aspects of our elite or the world's elite that believe that they're not in contact with aliens, that they're actually in contact with fallen angels, demons. Now, if you know anything about the Bible, which I have not read in its entirety, I'm going to be honest with you. If you know anything about the Bible, they've cut out chapters of it over time. They have councils in Rome, at the Vatican or wherever, right? Where they looked at the Bible and they're like, yeah, this is blasphemous, or this is unnecessary, or yada yada, right? I think the original Council of Nicaea was just to discern whether or not Jesus was a man or he was divinity. And they had to take out parts of the Bible that went against, I guess, what they ultimately decided on. Which, who are these guys, right? They were alive 900 years after Jesus. What the fuck do they know? There are parts of the Bible that were cut out that indicate God had angels watching over us, and that these angels were so taken with human women that they came down to Earth and they had sex with them. They had relations with them. And this was like an abomination for God. So he punished them by trapping them here on Earth for all of eternity. And the children of these watchers and human women were known as Nephilim in the Bible, which some people contextualize as
giants.
You know, the more outlandish, the further you go seeking the truth, the more outlandish it seems sometimes. But then you look at cave paintings, you look at hieroglyphics, you wonder how these several ton stones were moved from quarries across the sand, across rivers, by people who hadn't even figured out the cart and buggy yet. There's pictures of people that are bigger than average people, you know, or not pictures, but hieroglyphics, images, you know. Where does this come from? Where, in your prehistoric mind, would you put 10 people that represent your tribe and one that is bigger than all of them? My initial representation was like, oh, this guy's the chief. He's like, he's our leader. He's like 10 men. But it could also very much be that giants existed. I don't know where I am on that. I mean, there's stories of U.S. soldiers in Afghanistan, you know, encountering giants, but that's for another day. That's for another show, probably. The fallen angels aspect of the alien conversation is ignored by half the UFO UAP community, because half the UFO and UAP community automatically discount religion and spirituality as a science at all, thus discounting the existence of the soul. So you try and tell them that they could be manipulated. They don't even have the discernment to know what manipulation looks like. They don't believe in the soul. The soul is where you discern. You could say it's also the mind. The mind is analytical, but the soul is where you know. That's my belief. People in the UFO and UAP community will laugh you out. They will not hear any of what you have to say if you even bring up the Bible and stuff like that. But you have to wonder if there's a reason for that. You have to wonder if there's not dissension within the community, disinformation within the community, which you don't have to wonder about that at all. Richard Doty was in the U.S. Navy and was tasked with giving false information to one Paul Benowitz, who was very much recording alien. I'm sorry. He was noticing secret government technology and thinking that it was alien. So the government, panicking, not wanting this secret to get out, instructed Richard Doty to give Paul Benowitz false information on purpose. Paul Benowitz's life was ruined. I don't know if he went mentally insane, but he was completely discredited. And yeah, he's It's kind of a horror story in the UAP community, and it discourages people from coming forth with their stories. Right? Richard Doty is fine. He got that paycheck for lying, and he's still on camera today. Funnily enough, he's still on camera today saying like, "Oh, you know," he's saying, "Yeah, I lied." There's supposed to be a second half of that sentence where it wouldn't happen again. It won't happen again. Right? So, based off that clip I showed you about the Collins Elite, you have Jack Parsons, other people doing rituals with rocketry. Demons, the military, they've intersected one time before, and that would be Michael Aquino. Michael Aquino was the founder of the Temple of Set. The Temple of Set broke off from Satanism, LaVeyan Satanism. Now, not to discredit any religion at all, but I feel that mostly people are playing cosplay with religion. You know, they look the part, they do the things, but they don't believe it in their spirit. They don't know if it's true, but they're doing it just in case, you know? So I think Michael Aquino was also of the same mind, because he looked at the Church of Satan and saw that people were buying their membership into the high order, and he didn't like that. So he created his own temple for the Dark Lord, as he, I don't know what he believes, right? But the dark force in the world. Temple of Set. Set was an Egyptian god. He cut Ra into like 1,000 pieces or something like that, right? He was the head of psychological operations while he was in the military. And he was implicated for a short time in the abuse of the sexual and physical abuse of dozens of preschool age children. There were people who were really arrested for this. And Michael Aquino's name was brought up, but he never faced a charge. He claims he was out of the country or something like that when the abuses were taking place. So, Amy Eskridge, right? Yeah, she says like in the modern day, you have contractors who are basically working for the military, right? Or maybe the military is working for the contractors. Who knows at this point? And you have these super incredible scientists like Amy Eskridge, others, who are able to produce a prototype anti-gravity vehicle, works perfectly, and their leadership sells it for parts and cancels the project every time. Every time. It's never allowed to go public. It's never mass reproduced. It's sold to the highest bidder and melted down for parts. Those were her exact words. Two of these so-called the word that comes to mind for me is vendors, corporations. Two of these entities are known as Lockheed Martin Skunk Works and Northrop Grumman. Very public facing corporations that are named as like weapons technologies, right? They are the ones who are funding all this research into ARVs and hoarding all of the results to themselves, for themselves. It's not an American thing, it's an elite thing. It's a Jeff Bezos has a Segway with anti-gravity on the bottom of it because he can. It's not for us, basically. It's not, we can't have zero gravity. We can't have 0 point energy fixing the world so that none of us have the problems that we have now. Because then we'd have to, like, you know, arrest the criminals who lied to us about it for so long, right? So I guess during the 2 or 3 hour clip of Amy talking to Mark and Jeremy brings up Tesla and Elon Musk, and she brushes off Elon, right? To still keep it with the secret space program, Demons and Aquino, you have Kurt Metzger, who I've brought up before. He also did a really, really good show just yesterday or the day before with a guy named Jason Giorgiani. Not entirely trustworthy to me, but it was a good show nonetheless. Very informative, or disinformative, I guess. Basically, Kurt claims that Elon Musk, Peter Thiel, Sam Altman, these guys get high off ketamine and other things and are communing with entities that are interdimensional, right? And these interdimensional entities are giving them the idea to do AI, to do flying saucers, or whatever the case may be. And they're misleading them because they're high white idiots, right? They think they're gonna like become like the next Gerald Ford with their name remembered for like 300, 400 years, you know? They're on Special K, they're in K-holes, and they're just doing whatever the K-hole tells them to do. As far as being dishonest, I guess that's what I'm trying. That's what I'm trying to get across to you with that. And going to Aquino, right? The military, the secret space program, the rituals. It's like, what the fuck is really going on here? You know? What is really going on here? I guess I can comment on her saying that Lue Elizondo is evil, right? Lue Elizondo is a whistleblower from the United States government. He claims he worked for programs in the United States government that were dedicated to identifying UFOs or UAPs and discerning whether or not they're a threat to the sovereignty of America, and just gathering information on cases or whatever, right? He defected. His story is that he defected from the U.S. government because he was being prevented from releasing information that was of national security importance to the public. He maintains that UFOs are either neutral or not neutral in the side that's bad for us, and we can't take the chance in that or in that instance. When Jeremy Reese brings up Lue Elizondo to Amy Eskridge, she calls him evil. Effing evil. Lue Elizondo was a torturer for the United States military, right? And you know anything about the people who were tortured during the Iraq War, a lot of them, I mean, if you go based off of what you know from our previous show, these people were tortured for nothing. Afghanistan farmers had nothing to do with a plane going inside the World Trade Center. And they were still waterboarded, and who knows what the fuck else, right? Pull your whole fingernail off your hand. As soon as you put the plier to my pinky finger, I'm going to tell you that I was the son of Sam and the Zodiac Killer. I don't want to deal with this shit. It's fucking ridiculous, man. Personally, there is a lot about Lue Elizondo to me that stinks. If he was really about serving the American public, then he wouldn't have to say, I can't answer that. To so many questions that he's been asked in the past 5 years. He signed a disclosure agreement. I thought you defected from the government, you fucking dickhead. You're gonna uphold. You defected from the military to serve the public, but you're still serving their secrets. And it's not the military. It's not the military, Lou. It's these fucking corporations. Skunkworks. Northrop Grumman. Have you ever seen American Horror Story? They did half a season on aliens. And they ran with the accepted conspiracy theory that Eisenhower was contacted by aliens in his administration. And he was offered a deal to let them abduct American citizens for their research purposes. And they would provide the U.S. with a technological edge. The agreement was, I guess, that they would limit their abductions to only certain times and only certain places and only a certain amount per year. But of course, since we have no way to track them or stop them, they ended up abducting a lot more than they were supposed to, apparently. Part of this whole theory is that the government has been working with these entities this entire time. And the people who are briefed, like Lue Elizondo, know that. And they can't let on. Because they've already assassinated so many people to keep quiet. They've lied so many times to keep quiet. They've stolen so much money. So much money. Trillions from the American public to do this little program. And other things that are not for the public. So one of the main reasons this whole conversation is like a tangled mess of wires and cords is so that we never demand justice. And part of the conversation, present day, part of the UFO conversation, present day, is that these people who are holding on to the secrets, the technology, the crimes, they want amnesty. That's like the condition. They want to see a movement in the public to be like, hey, we don't care what you did. We forgive you. Just give us the zero gravity. Just give us the truth and you're pardoned. But there are people that were hurt. Forget the $3 billion. Forget the impoverishing of a fucking nation. Right? Forget drugging us so that we don't notice with fucking whatever. Forget creating wars as distraction. You murdered people. For telling the truth. And now you're going to tell the truth. Consequence free. And we're not even going to, if the ritual aspect of all this is real, found Elon Musk with $4 billion doing Special K, and a fucking entity is telling me, hey, bring me a kid and slit its throat right here, and we'll open a portal for you. Elon Musk has fucking 12 kids himself. Probably doesn't have to go far. As a counterpoint to the demon narrative, we have the Bledsoe family. Chris Bledsoe Sr. and his son Chris Bledsoe Jr. were in the woods one day. I want to say maybe pre-2007, around 2007. Pre-2007, I think. And Chris Bledsoe Sr. was going through it. His life was in the gutter. He was a person of note in his community, and he contracted Crohn's disease. This is his story, right? And after that, the housing market collapsed. He had a carpentry company, and it just went into the ground. He had $1 million home, lost it. He was living in a trailer with his wife and I think he has 3 kids. I could be wrong. Basically, Chris Bledsoe maintains that an orb of light took him and his son that day in the woods. And at first they didn't know what to think. His son was frightened to death. It wasn't until they did a hypnotic regression later on that he discerned the message that he was getting from these visitors. Basically, long story short, this was like the divine feminine, which is described as just the other aspect of existence. If you can take everything down to like yin and yang, right? To existence having a dual nature to it. And she visited him and she told him that he was a messenger for God for light, and that these orbs in the sky had been with us throughout time, that had watched us for almost all of our history, and were guiding us, protecting the planet. And at this point in time, as what the Bible, the Torah, and the Quran would call it, the last days. I'm not sure. But a lot of people think we live in the last days. The time before the final battle between good and evil, right? They're basically trying to get people prepared for that. You know, I guess maybe like I'm not too big on shifting timelines, that type of theory, but basically basically shift consciousness to create a reality where calamity is either a non-issue or it's just not going to happen. I've listened to a lot of okay, so it was Chris Bledsoe, right? He wrote a book, UFO of God. His family was there experiencing all of this with him. They were cast out from their community, which was a very Bible thumping community, and they were called heretics. They were called devil worshippers and all this other stuff. Look, I've listened to yes, okay, so it's the father, Chris Bledsoe, the wife, the eldest son, Chris Bledsoe Sr. They have a daughter. I think she's the youngest, Emily Bledsoe. And we have the middle son, Ryan Bledsoe. Ryan Bledsoe took it upon himself to spread his father's message to the world in a podcast called Bledsoe Said So. I discovered it when he was only a year in, maybe 90 episodes in, something like that. I'm not exactly sure. But I liked his esoteric interpretations of pop culture and his own depth of knowledge into the occultism, into religion, into the phenomenon, as he calls it, the UAP phenomenon. And he and his family maintain that they've been contacted by the government, because the government doesn't know what any of this is actually. And they're looking to Chris Bledsoe for answers. And Ryan Bledsoe, Chris Bledsoe, they maintain that the entire government narrative pertaining to UFOs is a lie. All this about ARVs is show me one. Ryan Bledsoe's argument is you can't show me an ARV. For everything that you've told me, you can't show me that. But I can show you an orb. They pray to the light inside themselves and ask for these visitors to show up, and the orbs show up. And they've had crowds of 100, 200 people witness these events. Now, it's a very fantastical story, right? And whenever someone says something like that, they're about to take it down. I want to believe this, man. I want to believe that there's a representative of the benevolent force of the universe, and she is here guiding and protecting us, right? But you have this guy who came on, Kurt Metzger's podcast. Go watch that, Kerp with Derp. the Dirt with Kurt. Nathaniel J. Gillis, I think was his name. He said some people, and he didn't say people who attend the Bledsoe events. He said some people who attend CE5, Close Encounter 5, or orb watching events return home with sigils on their body. Sometimes like in their eyelids, carved under their eyelids so they don't even notice. I mean, once again, I don't have any pull. I'm not a personality like that. I try and talk to people online sometimes, and I it's probably not a question that Ryan Bledsoe would want to answer. If there's nothing to it, I don't see why you'd be afraid to answer a question like that. But I have asked him, is it true that people who view orbs are having sigils appear on their body? You know, he didn't respond. I've asked him at least twice. But I guess you know, the Bledsoes also know about Lue Elizondo, and Lue Elizondo, I think he either was supposed to meet with them or he met with them once, and he never met with them again after that, or he just never met with them in general. Lue Elizondo, right before, I guess, Bledsoe Said So started airing, was heavily involved in To the Stars Academy. To the Stars Academy was a company started by Tom DeLonge, the frontman of Blink-182. He's been a lifelong believer in aliens. There's a song called Aliens Exist on like one of his first albums, right? When he started To the Stars Academy, my brother was a huge Blink-182 fan, and I'm a big conspiracy theory guy, so we were like perplexed by it. It was happening around the time that the U.S. Navy finally disclosed that UFOs exist or whatever, right? That was 2017. He was releasing these books, Secret Machines, which were like reskinned stories of actual pilots' experiences during World War II with the Foo Fighters, quote unquote. Foo Fighters were the names of the flying saucers when they were being seen in World War II. Tom DeLonge was super into this stuff. He was ready to take people to space. He was ready to use his money to take people to space. This was Tom DeLonge. There was hope in his eyes. There was light. Until he got involved with Lue Elizondo. Now, To the Stars Academy is like ceased activity. They're all the whistleblowing, like people that have come out, all the breakthroughs or supposed like claims. To the Stars Academy has been mum for about 3 or 4 years, as far as I know. I haven't heard a single thing. And Tom DeLonge as well. I think they went on tour like a year or two ago, but when I look at his face compared to when he was like starting To the Stars Academy to now, it looks like there's some like grim worry on his soul. Something worrisome, something bothersome. And just the way that To the Stars Academy has been like neglected, you can kind of discern that probably is the point of contention. So I guess to just bring it all together, Amy Eskridge was intent on being the one to disclose all of this information. She was going to make a documentary with Stephen Greer, she wasn't going to make a documentary with Stephen Greer. Mark Sakal suggested Stephen Greer, in that 2 or 3 hour clip of Amy Eskridge talking. And she needed a documentary. She needed to be in touch with the press. She was planning on becoming like a Joe Rogan personality to disclose anti-gravity, even if her life was being threatened. Amy Eskridge died June 11, 2022 from a self-inflicted gunshot wound. That's the story. I guess at the time there were no investigations, but in the 2 years, 3 years that have passed, it's come out that there are investigations happening into her death. But if somebody high up in the government wanted her dead, these are the types of investigations that never pan out, right? I guess before we get into some real news, I just want to read you one tweet. In this July, I tweeted out at Mark Sokol. I said, Amy Eskridge was killed. You clearly have incentive to not speak about her or what she was working on. I found you both amicable in that video that's circulating of y'all, but was disappointed to find you in support of the Holocaust on the people in Gaza. His response was this. There is no Holocaust happening in Gaza. And now for some real news.
Got another update on 3I Atlas, which is that interstellar visitor that is moving through our solar system. And honestly, combined with everything that is happening on Earth right now, I'm just going to say it. Spiritually, something is shifting. Now, what we know factually is that observatories have picked up new absorption lines from 3I Atlas, confirming that it is actively shedding water and volatiles in a way that we don't normally see.
It's really cool because it does have that tail from the sun's radiation blasting it, but it also has a forward-facing tail.
If the sun is here and the comet is here, the sun sends the solar wind to the comet, the tail goes behind the comet. Guess what? This comet is at the reverse side.
But is it nature or something else? We're going to find out soon.
Okay, so it's going to be a few weeks before 3I Atlas comes back into view. Right now, it is hidden behind the sun, and even during its closest approach, Earth-based telescopes are not going to be able to see it. What's worse, the images that NASA captured right before all this, well, we haven't seen those because of possibly the government shutdown, but our next got a big update, a huge update on our favorite interstellar object. It could be the biggest update in the solar system. Take a look at this. This is 3I Atlas. You know how the last time we talked about it, it went behind the sun, then it got brighter, then it got bluer, then it started to go faster, non-gravitational acceleration? Well, guess what? We just got new images of it, and to add some more strangeness to the 3I Atlas saga, because, like, I don't want to overhype this, but yeah, you see, that's a comet. It does not have a very big, very noticeable cometary tail. That's what we were thinking we were going to see. So let's get straight over to...
A ghost from beyond our stars has come alive. 3I Atlas, the most talked about space object of recent times, has again shown a mysterious behavior.
An interstellar object whirling through our solar system is actually a nuclear-powered spacecraft sent by aliens to test how humans respond. That's what a noted astrophysicist believes might be the case, and he says an image from the Hubble telescope backs him up. Most scientists agree that the so-called 3I Atlas is a comet from another solar system. But Harvard scientist Avi Loeb claimed on this show a couple of weeks ago that it could actually be some type of alien technology. Now, that's a controversial opinion all on its own. But he's now going a step further, arguing that the 3I Atlas could be a nuclear-powered alien spacecraft. Loeb says the Hubble picture appears to show the object emitting its own light. The
3I Atlas. This is not something that comets typically do.
That looked like a damn galaxy, fool. And that very well could be a ship.
This Atlas, 3I Atlas, this comet, is really our galactic allies.
Let's get straight over to Harvard astronomer Professor Avi Loeb, the world-renowned expert on all these things, all things interstellar. Professor, the last time we spoke, which was like the day before yesterday, you were saying that when it went behind the sun, the natural explanation for the non-gravitational acceleration and the thrust might be because it burned off a bunch of chemicals or something, and that was giving it the thrust to the tune of like 13%, and we would see a humongous tail maybe. What is going on?
Yeah, that's very surprising because there should have been a very massive cloud of gas and dust around it based on what we know about comets. In fact,
so this is from the former head of Israel's space program, Chaim Ashed, who says that aliens have been in contact with the U.S. and with Israel. What does he refer to? The Galactic Federation, that he says has been in touch with Israel and the U.S. He also says that Donald Trump was going to reveal their existence, but then basically got talked out of it, I suppose.
Yeah, and look, he's 87 years old. According to him, he says he has nothing to lose. He's a decorated former Israeli general, former space security chief. He's been awarded a medal 3 separate times, 2 secretly, for actions that kept Israel safe. Clearly somebody who was regarded well by that government. Now, what he's saying is kind of crazy. He says that the cooperation there's a secret pact between the U.S. government and the Galactic Federation, that the cooperation includes a secret underground base on Mars where there are American and alien representatives.
Mark Sokol, his last name means Falcon, and he is the proprietor of Falcon Space Labs, owner and proprietor probably. And when I approached Mark Sokol with my thesis or whatever, I wasn't aware that he and Amy were dating. And that's that, like, as I mentioned to you, when I'm listening to these things, I'm at work, and occasionally I'll miss a bit or two like that, where in that clip of that exists of Amy Eskridge and Mark Sokol talking to Jeremy Reese, they mentioned that they're basically dating. Mark Sokol says that we're basically dating, and I had this interaction with him. He blocked me, and he's blocked me more than once. I can't remember because some of these tweets are like now hidden for me, whether or not he deleted them. He claims that he found her and she took her life because she was taken off her antidepressants. I've watched this clip of this woman several times already, and she doesn't seem, I don't know if, like, I guess in the high society, it's not like people aren't open about their addictions. So if she was addicted to pills, I couldn't notice anything from the times that I watched the clip and listened to the clip of her talk. She just seemed like a very highly intelligent, probably autistic woman, and she seemed like on edge. It was the pandemic. She just got off recovering from corona, abusive relationship, was constantly being harassed by either a foreign government, for sure a foreign government, and unknown entities in our government as well. In that clip, I don't know if I played it or I'll play it right now. She talks about being threatened to be raped and then killed because she's a woman. Like, you know, they kill people who get too close to the truth, or people that they don't want speaking out. Well, because you're a woman, they're gonna rape you before they kill you. And it just so happens that there's an accusation that exists that Mark Sokol himself. Okay, there's a statement that she wrote, that apparently that Amy Eskridge wrote to somebody who was working with Mark Sokol. I don't have the whole statement. I'll read partially, word for word, what she said. Mark Sokol, literally in a very real physical sense, fucking raped me. In a face-to-face interaction where I very clearly told him no. And he still, regardless of my protests, fucking mounted me against my will, inserted his hard dick into my body, and came inside of me despite me telling him to stop. Mark Sokol raped me, and that's a fact. Those are two direct quotations from a statement or maybe an email she wrote to somebody who was working with Mark Sokol, and she was chastising this person for working with a known rapist. Recently, there's on the X community, and I don't know, I guess largely, there's these two X accounts, Chupacabra and Red Panda Koala. They are constantly in the know and on the up and up, I guess, about all the stuff going on in the UAP community. And they recently reached out to Mark Sokol to talk about Amy Eskridge and her mysterious death. And in the comments under this interview, there were people saying like, "Hey, didn't you rape Amy? Why are you?" And they were telling Red Panda and Tupa, "Why are you talking to this guy? He raped Amy. Like, he's shady. He's sus." And Mark Sokol, I saw him respond to one of these accusations like, "Yes, that statement is real, and it's actually all part of the plan. She wrote that to me." I don't know what the fuck he was saying, but he didn't go into detail. But he said that I guess Amy faked that statement and sent it to that other person on purpose for whatever reason. There's another, and further looking into the clip, I see other people tweeting and commenting under the videos that Mark Sokol is really just interested in Amy's dad, and he talked about her dad multiple times in that in the clip. And if I let my imagination run away with me for a minute, which I'm very famous for doing amongst people who know me, I could very easily see Mark Sokol being a spy for a foreign agency, which Amy already had very clearly declared there were watching her, and wanting to get direct from the feed information from somebody who got direct from the feed paperclip Nazi UFO information. That's valuable information. That's like information worth killing for. And I mean, that could alter, like if you put a flying saucer in the hands of a manic genocidal ethno state and they mount a fucking M60 on it or something, or like tank rounds, like come the fuck on, you know. And they talk about barbarians. Yeah, the thing that further, you know, like rubs me completely wrong about Mark Sokol is his denial of the genocide in Gaza. And when I approached him on this in July, I'd already been like following the information at that point for at least like before the election. So it had to have been like almost a year, like headlines and people talking about it, people reporting on it truthfully. And he was insistent that it wasn't a genocide and there weren't people starving and all this other shit. And when the ceasefire finally came 3 months later, I put up another tweet. I said R.I.P. Amy Eskridge. I tagged him, Falcon Space Labs. I guess it was a genocide after all. He blocked me. So, Jeremy Reese came out on a very, very popular podcast, the Danny Jones podcast. I listen to the Danny Jones podcast as well. There are some people who claim that maybe he's like a Scientology op, which would mean he's like a Luciferian op, because he himself has stated that the Church of Scientology headquarters is right there, like around the corner from his offices or whatever. But he seems like a chill guy when you listen to the show, and he's had a lot of great guests. I don't listen to every show, but he's had a lot of great guests. Jeremy Reese seemed like a slimy guy, and like it was, I would like be focused on my life or focus on other things, and I would always keep coming back to things that had to do with Amy Eskridge and her mysterious death, and you know, she didn't deserve what she got. Just from that first clip I saw of her talking about Alabama being like the center for black government high-tech operations or development, just seemed like such a genuine and real and cool person. She was afraid for her life. And I just want to say, this show isn't just about the Jews. I'm not just the whole point of the show isn't to be a tongue-in-cheek anti-Semite. As I already said, I think religion is just for cosplayers. It was the original cosplay, and it makes them feel good. You know what I'm saying? You can't, if it, recording. It makes them feel good, so you can't take that away from them. You can't take that away from them, and I'm not trying to. Religion is more sacred than just cosplay, beyond my perception. It's people's connections to God, and that's serious. That's a true thing. But I feel like religion has been like taken over by people with dark intentions, and you use religion as a shield to conduct your dastardly means, and the whole time you can act like you're persecuted because it's your history, when in reality, like you're part of a select and very small group of people that have conducted these operations through generations. It's very unfortunate that, like, you know, there's so many people whose like identity is caught up in being one thing or the other. As a matter of fact, I found out that I have some Jewish ancestry, Sephardic actually. And if you look at the research, which we will eventually, that kind of makes me more of a Jew than like a large amount of the population that lives in Israel today. And it's only because they agree to a certain doctrine and agree to support the genocide of a people that they're allowed citizenship, you know? And if, as dire as things get for me, as many like cups of ramen as I'm getting used to eating lately, just for budget's sake or whatever, right? I don't see myself being okay with the rape of somebody, using a dog to rape somebody just because you want their land, scare them off, scare everybody off. It's like, just that sentence alone, like, you don't know, like, say all that to say I'm not here just to attack the Jews. I'm highlighting the truth of the situation, and there were just a couple of notes I wanted to hit from last week's show. We have the previous Prime Minister of Israel talking about how sometimes when you try to influence a government through assassination, it doesn't work.
Maverick power he has to create peace in South North Korea, in Palestine, in all these different places. One might ask, why do they need Jeffrey Epstein? Why can't they just assassinate Donald Trump? I know there's a lot of speculation. There has been that John F. Kennedy was assassinated with Israeli intelligence help. Why do they need things like Jeffrey Epstein?
Somebody tried to assassinate him, didn't they? Before the election. It doesn't always work.
And now, I guess to close out the show, I was gonna play a clip actually to close out the show of a convicted spy for Israel using nuclear weapons to threaten the United States to acquiesce to their desires. But I think I would rather just say, keep your eyes on the skies and trust your gut, trust your heart, because there are instances of people saying that when these orbs or UFOs appear and the thought of Jesus occurs, like it wards them off or whatever. I actually have a better clip I want to play for you. I have my own encounter, finally. It was January 1st, 2024. I had just got off of work. I was walking home. The sun hadn't risen yet. I look to if I'm walking north, I look to the northeast, and I see what appears to be the handle of the Big Dipper, which is just a slanted L, right? It's like that, like my arm like that. And I'm looking at it, and I look at the skies frequently ever since. Always. I mean, I told you I was 8 years old trying to get some alien ass. So, suddenly, the L changes. This what I thought was a star comes over here, and I'm just like, I stop walking and I'm looking at it, and like, if it was like a isosceles triangle like that, when this star came like this, it was now an equilateral triangle. And these stars began spinning like a fidget spinner. Not fast, but like in a circular motion. And at that point, I busted my phone out, and here's the clip that I got. The truth is out there. Thank you for watching. Thank you for spending this very long hour with me. And stay safe, stay warm. God bless.
Thought that they were angels, but much to my surprise, they took me aboard a spaceship that headed for the sky. Come sail away, come sail away, come sail away with me. Come sail away, come sail